welcome to Library Storytime. Our first story today is The Ugly Duckling Dinosaur. It's a prehistoric tale. Do you know what prehistoric means? Prehistoric is like before they wrote down history. Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
It would be, yes. Once upon a time, 7 tiny beaks pecked their way out of their eggs and into a world of giant ferns, ginkgo trees, and dinosaurs. However, one egg didn't hatch. The mother duck sighed and settled onto the nest again. The next day, the egg still had not hatched. A neighbor duck waddled over and quacked. "What's wrong with that egg?" "It's extra large and slow to hatch," the mother duck said, "but I'm sure the duckling inside is as perfect as the rest." Tap, 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 crack, beep, beep, beep. Just then the egg rumbled and trembled. Thump, 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 smash! A huge claw burst out, followed by a gigantic foot. The newest duckling exploded from its shell. The mother duck gasped. Her other ducklings froze and stared. "That is the ugliest duckling I've ever seen," the neighbor screeched.
That's not very nice.
The hatchling gazed at his siblings' dainty legs and webbed feet. He examined his own bulging thighs and sharp claws. His brothers and sisters had fluffy feathers, but he had pebbly skin. "I am ugly," he cried.
He's not ugly. He's a pretty dinosaur.
"Nonsense," his mother said. "Those powerful legs will make you a fine swimmer." Look at all the little ducklings looking at him.
He's a beautiful green dinosaur.
7 perfect...
Why did the dinosaur say that he was ugly?
Well, because he thought he was. 7 perfect ducklings paraded after their mother to the swamp. One ugly duckling clomped behind. "There's no whittle in this one's waddle," the neighbor had crackled. "His teeth are too big for his head, and his tail swooshes like a crocodile's."
That's not very nice.
It's not being nice at all.
The wasn't very nice.
The mother duck sailed into the water. 7 perfect ducklings glided behind. One ugly duckling stomped in and slashed waves with his tail. The neighbor duck shrieked when water washed over her. "That duckling is a monster." He is a lot bigger than the other ducklings, isn't he?
But size doesn't matter.
Nearby, a turtle basked in the sun. "He has no feathers either," the ugly duckling thought. "Now go and say hello." When the duckling splashed over, the turtle retreated into his shell. The duckling then waved to a herd of other dinosaurs drinking at the pond's edge. Several of the dinosaurs jerked up their crested heads. Before the water could finish dripping from their chins, the entire herd stampeded away. Now, those are dinosaurs up there, too. They're just a different kind, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the green dinosaur is a T-Rex.
You're right.
Yeah, maybe
Turn the
the
page.
T-Rex are innocent too.
The ugly duckling frowned at his reflection. Even the animals without feathers didn't have puny arms and clumsy feet and enormous teeth and jaws like his. "I'm too ugly to fit in here." He took one last look at the sunlight glittering on the feathers of his mother and siblings. Decided, "I must go find my home somewhere else in the world." When they dove underwater, he fled into the forest. The ugly duckling wandered day after day after day and grew and grew and grew. Soon he was so big that the ground quaked when he walked. Every animal ran from the sight of him. Pteranodons flew away. Lizards and small mammals hid. Stegosauruses fled. Everyone's afraid of him.
You don't need to be afraid of dinosaurs. They aren't even alive anymore.
I'm such a monster that no creature will look at me, the ugly duckling moaned. I wish I was covered in feathers and that the ground didn't shake when I walked. Look at him. Doesn't he look sad?
Yeah. He's sad because he thinks that himself is ugly.
One day the ugly duckling spied beautiful feathers floating on the breeze. Nearby, a gathering of other dinosaurs preened. Aha! The duckling said, if I disguise myself, perhaps they will like me. See what he did? He put feathers all over himself.
Those are actually really pretty leaves. They're not really feathers. They're leaves.
Do you think that helped hide him at all?
No, because you can
No.
still see the green in the picture.
Yeah, you still can. The ugly duckling tucked feathers into the creases of his skin and under his armpits. He tiptoed into the clearing. Hello, brothers, he said, bowing low. Oops! His feathers fluttered off. The dinosaur's eyes grew as big as magnolia flowers. It's a monster! Run! Alone again, the ugly duckling sobbed. I'll never find my home in the world. Boom, boom. The ground quivered. Snap! Branches splintered from the trees. The ugly duckling heard creatures scurry through the forest, just like they usually ran from him. Something very ugly must be coming, he said.
He's not ugly in the first place. You can never listen to people that tell you that they're ugly.
A majestic dinosaur stomped before him. The bumps in the creature's skin gleamed in the sun. It had large teeth, legs as thick as palm trees, and claws that curved like a crescent moon. It wasn't ugly at all. The dinosaur cocked its head. Why are you crying, child? Hearing the kind words, the duckling felt the bumps on his own skin tingle. I'm a monster. I'm such an ugly duckling that I don't belong anywhere.
I think that's the mommy of the...
Yeah, looks a lot like him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Duckling? Nonsense. The dinosaur nuzzled the little one. Ugly? Why, you are as beautiful as my own children. Come home with me. Really? The ugly duckling couldn't believe his ears. He followed the dinosaur, taking 2 ground rumbling steps for every thunderous stride of hers. Soon he spied a muddy nest around. Youngsters stomped and played nearby with toe claws, jumbo jaws, and bulging thighs like his. Why, those ducklings are just like me, said the ugly duckling. We are not ducklings. We are called Tyrannosaurus Rex, said the little dinosaurs. The mother dinosaur smiled, just like you. Look at that.
But is that actually the real mommy of the dinosaur?
We don't know for sure, but maybe. Just like me, the little T-Rex skipped toward the nest, proud to feel the ground tremble underfoot, and with his new family he growled, "Harr! A duckling no more." He's happy now, isn't he? All right. So he found a place where he felt he belonged. All right. That's a good story.
All right, well, we're going to read another book, and this is called The Tall Man and the Small Mouse. Look how big this man is. He's got big skinny legs.
Taller than this whole building.
And a little tiny mouse. So let's see what's going on in this story. There's the little mouse. Looks like...
That's a cute mouse.
Yeah, looks like she's up to some sewing. Let's
guess the
find
mouse
out what
likes to sew.
happens. Oh, and there's the man sitting in the window. What's he making? Paper airplanes,
airplane.
right? And there's the little mouse way down there. And what does she have in her hand? You see that?
Pencil.
A pencil.
Yeah,
So
pencil.
let's find out what is going on with this tall man and this little
She's
mouse. All right. On a tall hill, in a tall house, lived a tall man and a small mouse. But the tall man never saw the little mouse, and the little mouse never saw the man in the house. What did the tall man do all day?
Make paper airplanes.
Well, he did things that needed doing. He picked apples, he untangled swings, and whistled songs that he couldn't sing. He rescued cats and kites from the trees, and showed great care for many things. And what about the little mouse?
I think the mouse can't, the big guy can't see the mouse because the mouse is so little.
So by day, the little mouse slept, and at night she crept to do small things that needed doing, like finding pins and pegs and corks and long sharp nails and long lost forks, a special pen and a silver ring, a watch and a coin, such a shiny thing. Afterward, she would crawl and creep to find a comfy place
That's
to
a comfy little
sleep.
cup in a bed.
Yeah. One day, the tall man went to fix the town's great clock. It had no tick and it had no tock. The tall man poked and he pulled and he tied, prodded, shook, and then he cried, "If only I could get inside." The tall man tried and tried and tried, and at last he said, "What can I do? I'll have to think of something new." And so he went home without a clue.
Maybe the mouse will make her own house in the ground.
Oh, that's a good prediction. Let's see if you're right. The tall man looked and looked and looked through every page of every book, but he still didn't know how to fix the clock. A clock that would not tick and one that would not talk. At the end of the long day, the tall man took off his long shoes, wiggled his long toes, and had a long snooze.
He looks like he's Bigfoot.
Yeah. Meanwhile, as the tall man slept, the small mouse crept and crept and crept. Look, she's finding a watch.
Oh my gosh.
And
She
some
got on top of the
needle and
man's
thread.
shoes.
Yep. There she is. Now she found a better place to snooze, right?
Well, maybe not because the shoes might stink.
And in the morning, the tall man dressed in the clothes that he liked best. And he was putting on his long shoes when that little mouse awoke. And the tall man had a peek and said, "Eek!" He said, "Oh my, I never knew a mouse was sleeping in my shoe." And then he saw all his missing things. Look at all the things that she had collected. The tall man's heart began to sing. "Mouse," he said, "you're clearly clever, small and nimble. I wonder whether I may possibly borrow you. I've the most important thing to do." Squeak, squeak, squeak. You think she said yes, 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 that she would help?
She might have found the clock from him.
Yeah, probably. Down the tall hill from the tall house went the tall man and the little small mouse. She's sitting right there on his shoulder.
That is a nice little boy.
In the town's great square were the town's big clock, which would not tick and it would not talk. The mouse was very, very small, and in she went to creep and crawl, to search and to find the broken thing for the man to fix the clock so it would ding.
Ding.
There she goes. What is she going to find inside that clock?
She found all these little lever thingies.
There's lots of gears inside a clock. But where would she find it? And where would she go? What did it look like? The mouse did not know.
Airplane.
What's making it stuck? She looked high. Hang on just a minute. She looked high and she looked low. She looked here and there. She looked left and right. And she searched everywhere until finally the small mouse saw the broken thing that she was looking for. Squeak,
Yeah.
squeak, squeak.
It looked like the cords broke.
Did somebody put an airplane inside the clock? The tall man heard the mouse and thought, she's so small and likes to find, and so I'm tall and like to fix. Together we're the perfect mix. And he said, now it's time to try. Looks like she took the airplane out. And so with the string and a cork and a coin and a key,
I think
the man and the mouse fixed the clock. Yippee!
I think the mouse squeezed into the clock because the mouse got really squishy.
Yeah. The tall clock's bells began to ring, and both their hearts began to sing. The tall man said, we may be two of a different kind, but both of us can fix and find. If I'm your friend and you are mine, squeak, 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 squeak. Aw. So on a tall hill, in a tall house, there lives a tall man and a little small mouse. What do you think these friends do all day?
Help each other.
Well, come rain or shine and whatever the weather, they do things that need doing together. You're right, they work together.
They work together like
Yeah.
a family does.
All right, so we're going to play a little game about things that work together. So here in my hand, I have some things. I have, what's this?
A hammer.
A hammer. You want the hammer? And this is a
Pencil.
pencil. And this is a
Saw.
saw. And here we have a big pile of dirt. Here we have a lock, like a padlock. And this is a
Screwdriver.
screwdriver. And I like to do this.
Paint.
Yep, paintbrush. And do you guys know what this is?
A bowl.
A bolt or like a nut. Yeah, so there we go. Now, I have the other piece of the missing puzzle. So I'm going to put something up there on the board, and I want to see if you guys can find the thing that goes with it. Just like Mouse and Tall Man worked on things together, a lot of things in our lives work together. One thing doesn't work without the other, right? So, yep, you're going to come up here and put it on the board. So take a look at what items you have. And let's start with this, okay? Because I used to be a teacher and I would use this all the time. But what good is a piece of paper without something? What do we need? What is that?
Pencil.
A pencil. Pencils and paper work together. And if you're in school, there we go.
Let's just
Why don't
put
we
it up on the side here.
put it, yeah, right there, right next to it. Paper and pencil work together, right? You can also use pens or markers or
Because-
crayons, but yeah,
Because you can't draw on other things. You only can draw on paper.
right, paper is the best place to draw on, right?
Because usually other things won't work.
Okay. All right, what else do I have in my little pile? I have a key. Now, just having a key by itself is no good, right? A key's not going to unlock a book, is it? It's not going to unlock...
It can be used for like a door.
Oh, like a door or a car? What else do we use keys for? Who's got the matching part? Come on up here. What do we put it right here next to it? What do we use a key for? We use a key for a lock. You're right. So those two things work together. All right, let's see what else I have in here. Well, these.
The screws.
These are screws, right? Because I have this.
Use it without a screwdriver.
You are so right. The screws, because they have these little holes there where the screwdriver fits, right?
Goes like
They
this.
fit together. Yeah, and then make it turn around.
That way you can get things out of it.
Right, exactly. And that
like
helps
stuff.
put things together too, right? All right. Remember I said I like to...
A remote control. You can use a screwdriver to get it out.
Okay.
Get the screws out.
I like to paint. I painted my mudroom the other day. I also like to paint pictures on canvas. But if I just had a big bucket of paint, am I going to stick my finger in it and paint? No, what do I need? What do I have to go with it? What goes with paint? Who's got the match?
Evan.
Who's got the brush? We need a brush when we paint, right? Who's got it? Come put it up here.
I mean, you can't paint with your fingers.
You can do finger paint, but not this kind of paint. This kind of paint needs a brush.
To paint it on the wall.
Yes, to paint it on the wall. Or to put it on a piece of canvas or paper. Yeah. Okay, this is the bulldozer, right?
And we can't use a bulldozer without dirt.
Right. Well, we could use a bulldozer, but it wouldn't do a lot of good without something to push around, right? And it's going to push around all that dirt. Good job putting it right there where it's going to push that dirt out of the way. Those two things work together. Okay, let's see what else I have in here. I have a piece of wood. What would go with a piece of wood? What if I wanted 2 pieces of wood instead of just 1? What would I have to cut this guy in half? Am I going to use a scissors? No.
You can't.
Am I going to use a knife that you use to cut your spaghetti with? How am I going to cut that wood?
With the saw.
Who's got the saw? Who can bring me the saw? Evan, you got the saw. Come put that up here by the wood. And we can chop it in half and make 2 pieces of wood. Right, those 2 things. Actually, I was going to stick it right here underneath. How's that? Those 2 things work together. Got a couple more. What are these?
Nails.
Nails. See, they don't have the hole in them like the screws. And so a nail, we have to pound them on the top of that head to get them into the wood, right? Who's got the match to go with it? You do. Turn it around. Awesome. And there's that hammer. You use the head right there to pound them down. And then this part right here, you can use to pry it up out of the wood. So what's left? What's this, guys?
It's
A wrench. That's another tool Daddy has in his toolbox. And
you can't use a wrench without
the nuts and bolts. Yep, come and put that right up here, and that hole right there will open up as wide as this is and turn it around and secure things in place. There you guys go. Look at all the things that work together. Paper and pencils, keys and lock, screws and screwdriver, paint and brush, bulldozer and dirt, wood and saws, hammer and nails, the wrench, and then the bolts. Awesome.
do it again.
Not right now.
We're going to have another story.
Yeah, story time.
Big Brown Bear's Cave.
I don't know what's all in the cave, but it looks like there might be a guitar, a cup, pans to click.
All right. Okay, well, looks like there's lots of stuff there. Let's just kind of listen and see what happens. Put on your good listening ears. Listening. One day, Big Brown Bear was strolling in the forest when he saw a cave. It was dark and dusty and just right for a bear like him. What luck, Big Brown Bear said with a grin. He moved in right away. Okay.
Well, it looks like you might have a donkey when it moves in.
That night, he bear stretched on one side of the cave, then in the middle, then on the other side, but no matter where he tried, the cave just didn't fit quite right.
I don't think, like, when he's laying down there, I don't think it's comfortable because he's on hardwood ground.
So Big Brown Bear went for another stroll. At the edge of the forest, he discovered something very interesting indeed. Humans had their own caves.
That's not really a cave. That's a garage and
Well,
a house.
this is what the bear thinks. You got to think like a bear right now.
But a garage is a tool.
The human caves were dark and dusty, just like bears, but they weren't empty. They were full of stuff. There was stuff on the floor, stuff on shelves, stuff in boxes. I need stuff too, said Big Brown Bear. Then I'll have the perfect cave.
You don't need stuff. Like
Watch what happens. So Bear decided to gather some stuff for himself. There was all kinds of stuff to choose from, but Bear's favorites were stuff that came with wheels, stuff that came with handles, and stuff that came in boxes.
He's not even asking to take all that stuff. He's just taking it.
I won't stop until I fill every corner of my cave, said Bear. My cave will have the most stuff ever.
You don't need that much stuff for a cave.
What do you think might happen here?
I think that he's going to go to every single garage and collect a lot of stuff for his cave.
All right. Word spread about Big Bear's cave. May we come in? Asked his friends. I'm sorry, said Big Brown Bear. There's not enough room for visitors.
That's sad. You don't need that much stuff to where you can't have visitors.
Pretty soon, there was no room left in the cave to even stretch or scratch or do any of the other things that bears generally like to do. Later, Big Brown Bear's friends asked, "Won't you join us for a fishing trip?" "I'm sorry," said Big Brown Bear, tumbling headfirst into the stuff. "But I seem to be
Messy.
stuck."
Well, kind of when you get stuck, it means like you're too messy.
Now he's stuck in the middle of all this stuff.
Maybe you should take some of it out of the cave.
You think that might be a good idea?
Yeah, and put it back where he found it.
Well, let's
It's
see
not
what
ours to
happens.
steal.
Let's see what happens. Bear's friends tried pulling him from one side. Then they tried pulling him from the middle. Next, they tried pulling him from the other side until, pop, at last he was free.
I
That's-
think next we would see all the stuff that just went.
I think it's a good thing Bear had some friends to help him get out.
I think he might be nice now.
Bear and his friends decided to take all the stuff back to the human caves.
I was right.
Yep, they're going to work together and take it all
It's like
back to the human
it's like
caves.
The other book. They work together as a family.
At last, Bear's cave was empty again. But with his friends beside him, Bear found the perfect spot for sleeping right away. Finally, his cave felt like home.
Well, I think he wanted to get junky and then put everything back.
There, it's all those leaves falling. You know, it's time for a bear to sleep. When all the leaves fall off the trees,
Yeah.
they have to go to sleep for the winter time.
They go to sleep during the winter and go awake during summer.
So, the thing that made Big Brown Bear feel like he had a home was what?
Getting a lot of the stuff out.
He had friends come and stay with him.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
not. Well,
That-
first he was a mean bear, and then he said, "Well, there's not enough room," and then they cleaned it out, and then there was friends.
They cleaned it all out. Then he had room for friends. You know, sometimes we might make ourselves too busy for friends, and that's not good. We all need friends, don't we? All right, boys and girls, well, that's all we have for today. So we just want to let you know, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.